So, Yusuku has PTSD. Did not see that coming. Hey guys, xthedarkone here, and obviously you're probably wondering what's going on. Why is my lighting shit? Why is my am I not with the green screen? Fact of the matter is, it's Saturday. Yesterday was just all kinds of stuff happened. I didn't have a chance to get my video on. I'm on the back end of a cold, which is now in my chest, so everything just comes out as it's coming out right now. And I've been working today, and Jacob's now in bed, which is right next to the studio room. So I figured I'm not gonna let that stop me. So I've grabbed the camera and everything, brought it down here. This is Jacob's little playroom downstairs. I'm gonna knock out the Vrains. I'm gonna talk about the Vrain train. I don't know the name of the episode. I mean, it's been I didn't catch it, so let's just hop onto the Vrain train and talk about turn 19. So, after the previous, last time on Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains and the title sequence, we got, a few more turns going off. Now, Aoi has, no, not Aoi, Blue Angel has been caught out by Ghost Girl. Ghost was kind of gone, sort of seen him and gone, oh, there she is. Figured she'd show up eventually. And the duels keep going on, and it's like, Zaizen's got his perfect combo that is sort of locked in, and, the angel protecting the hound. And he's just going off, and at this point Playmaker has just summoned Fireball Dragon. He's like, right, here, this is what we're going to do. He summons that, and the effects still go off, it lowers the attacks, but then he's like, right, well, I knew that. He plays this new magic card that he can only activate it when he has a Link 4 on the field, and he can destroy as many monsters as there are Link 3 or higher Link monsters on his side of the field. So he destroys both his Tindango cards at the same time. However, when that happens, Zaizen then summons his ace monster, his real monster, which is it's from the extra deck. It's not I don't think it might be a Link. It's a Link monster, and he summons it, and he's able to summon it when I think he played the trap card which allowed him to summon it, and he summoned it, and it gets 1500 attack points for each of those two, for each of those in the graveyard. So it got 1500 for the hound, 1500 for the angel, and it got up to 3000 attack. And it's like, right, well, I'm beefed up. They had a few back and forths. Again, a good duel. Zaizen is really on top of it. I'm really liking Zaizen as a duelist. Like, I just thought that Zaizen would just be a business guy, but he's actually a really good duelist, and he's keeping up with Playmaker every single step of the way. And then Zaizen starts giving Yusuku this speech. He's like, look, Playmaker, and I need you to understand, your life, you've got your whole life ahead of you. I know what happened to you 10 years ago. I know it's shitty, but you can't lose your childhood because of your shitty past. That's what happened to me. I don't want that to happen to you. You're about Aoi's age. I want you to, go and have friends and live a normal life. Forget about all this. Don't let your past control your future, which I think is actually a great moral lesson. I actually think I'm investing in Zaizen. Not so much in anyone else just yet, but last week I said I wasn't getting invested in characters, but Zaizen, I'm really starting to feel sorry for Zaizen, because he did essentially lose his childhood. He had to do all this stuff just to look after his sister, and he's just trying to do right. He wants this kid who he knows is about Aoi's age. He's like, look, mate, I know what it's like. I've been down that road. I lost my childhood. I didn't get a chance at a real childhood. I didn't get a chance to hang out with friends and have great memories. You get that chance. You can still claim it back. And that's when Blue Angel, that's when Blue Angel popped out, made herself known, and she's like, look, I want to know what happened. I want to know what happened because I want to fight by your side. Zaizen then starts telling Blue Angel exactly what happened 10 years ago, how a project had happened where kids were getting kidnapped and trapped and then forced to duel, and Playmaker's like, yo, I don't like people telling my story. So then Playmaker starts telling the story, telling them what happened, how as a kid they were locked away and they would have to duel they were locked in a room with no windows, no doors. The only thing they had was a VR system, and they had to duel every day, and if they won, they got food. If they lost, they got nothing. Pretty harsh, really harsh. Like, as far as background characters go, it's one of the most tragic. Right up there with Yusei. Yusei has a really tragic background, but I think Yusuke's background is just slightly more tragic. I mean, he lost his family, he gets kidnapped, abducted, trapped, imprisoned, has to fight for food, doesn't get to, has to sleep on cold floors. He gets, and all he's got to do is duel, and it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. And it's like, yeah, and we got told we had to duel every day, and then one day it stopped, and we got rescued. And he's like, yeah, Zaizen took over again. He's like, yeah, you got rescued, and you've got to go back. And Playmaker's like, you think we got rescued? You think we got rescued? And then, say, Playmaker started going on about how he's like, the women, people try to help us. The women, the nurses and all that, they tried helping, but it stayed with me. Every time I was asleep, I would see it, and there was like the flash, and you have the nightmare of him losing and the pain, and essentially is, post-traumatic stress disorder, which I thought was incredible to have a character that's dealing with that. Like again, Yusei's history is pretty bleak, but I never get the sense that he has to sort of deal with that, post-traumatic stress. But we actually have a Yu-Gi-Oh character with PTSD, and I think that's I was like going, okay, alright, I mean, that's a big one. That is a big one. I mean, that's like, tackling depression and stuff like that. That's like having a character that tackles depression. That's like, I don't want to compare, but I just thought, that's pretty ballsy, making your character. They haven't come out right and said that's PTSD, but essentially, you can just, if you read enough about it, you can, what he's going through. That's the symptoms of PTSD. He just every day, he tries to move on, and he did, but those traumatic events just constantly come back at him, and can't get away. Quite a personal thing for me. I don't have PTSD, at least I don't think I do. But when I was going to get a bit personal now, but when I was very young, my brother passed away, and it was a very tender age. It was it was like 2 weeks before my 10th birthday, so about the same age that Yusuku was when that stuff happened to him. And it stuck with me for a long time, and it's still kind of with me. I've let it go now. It's a part of my past, and it's there. But I can kind of see where he's going. I was watching it going, yeah, I relate to that slightly. Nowhere near in the same capacity, but I'm like, yeah, when my brother died, that was a big, it stayed with you. And I'm like, touche, Vrains. Touche, trying to tackle this. And it's then that we really get to know more about Playmaker's personality, that he's not just a stoic dick. He just doesn't feel like he has that life. He's like, I can't stop until I get my life back. This is me. This is his road. This whole thing, for a long time, and even Zaizen's like, I know you just want revenge, you want to get back at him, and Playmaker's kind of justifying it like, no, I need closure on this. I need to find out, not just for myself, but for the families of all the other people that got kidnapped. That friend that helped me, the one that told him about the 3 things, the one that spurred him on and kept his spirits up. He's like, he was never, out of the ones that I was rescued with, he was not among them. So he's still convinced, I think someone else is there. He's like, I think that kid's still trapped, and I need to save him. I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm convinced it's Revolver. I'm almost convinced. I'm not almost, I'm 100% convinced that kid who speaks to him over the speakers that spurs him on, that's Revolver. And I think Revolver as a kid was like his father or whatever, or his family was involved in the incident. And then he's like, right, but what have you got to do with the and then Blue Age was like, what have you got to do, what's this got to do with because about the Knights of Hanoi, and it's like, oh well, the project had another name, the Hanoi Project, that's why I'm hunting down the Knights of Hanoi. So his connection is to the Knights of Hanoi, is that the project was called the Hanoi Project, and he's like, right, they must be the culprits, even though I'm convinced Soul Technology has way more to do with it. Or maybe Hanoi did the incident to train kids up to then fight Soul Technologies. Maybe they, I mean, I've never said Hanoi are the good guys. They might just be another side of this. I mean, I think Soul Technologies are the big ultimate evil, and I think Hanoi are like the sort of ends justify the means kind of. We've got to do this to save the world, to save Vrains. So they took drastic measures and scoop these kids up. But yeah, finally Zaizen ended it by saying, in the file there's one other thing, the name, the mastermind behind Hanoi, and Playmaker was such an angry face. He's like, you better tell me right now. And then the episode ends. Guys, this episode was good. I mean, I know I rip on it for going, we hardly get dueling, we get a lot of backstory, but I mean, this explained a lot more. Like, we got a big insight into our main character, and it was interesting how they played it. We did get some good duels. We got Zaizen's big monster out, and I'm curious how that's all gonna play out. But yeah, a lot more has been offered to the story and to where it's going, so there's a lot more to talk about. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I sat there and I was really engrossed in this episode, and like learning more about their lives and their pasts, and how this event actually really did traumatize Yusuku and his mate. They really did muck him about. And one other thing that I'm curious about as well is, but just before Playmaker, Yusuku was set free, the computer even said, right, the project's done with, you're free to go, and the doors opened and he was rescued. So whether they were actually done with him just in time, or they knew they were going to get caught out, so they went, right, you can go now, like it was them that set him free, or potentially Playmaker, whatever they were wanting to get out of Yusuke and make him this great duelist, maybe they achieved that, and then was like, right, we have a duelist who is now strong enough to take on the Cyberse, is now strong enough to fight this war that we need them to fight, so we will now tell the police. Because it never really explains how the police found them and how they were rescued. It just says that eventually they were found and rescued. So I think that whoever set it all up and who kidnapped these children, it's just a theory, but once they'd achieved I think through Yusuke they'd achieved their goal, and then they're like, right, tip off the cops, we've got this kid now, this kid's gonna fight our war, tip off the cops, the cops, get him rescued, so he can grow up, and maybe it's not, maybe calling it the Knights of, maybe they're calling it the Hanoi file, maybe it was Soul Technologies, and they want to pin it on Hanoi, because they want to fight Hanoi as well. So maybe Soul Technologies kidnapped Yusuke and all these other kids, trained them up, brainwashed them. When they were convinced they had the best duelist and like the strongest duelists now prepared, they went, right, get them rescued, tip off the police so they can get rescued, but then say the project was called the Hanoi file, so that maybe one of these kids will go after the Hanoi and try and take them out in our place. I don't know, just a theory. Overall, guys, it was a great episode. I'm starting to get more engaged in the characters, mainly Zaizen. But Playmaker, I think this show is, he doesn't feel like he has friends. He's like, no, I don't have friends, and he doesn't consider Ignis a friend. And he's just like, I don't have that. And again, this show is about him. I think he will start to break down and like let more people in. And I think this is kind of the beginning of that, so hopefully we'll start seeing the real theme of this show come out, and it'll be great. But until then, it was a very good episode. I'm very looking forward to the next one. So take care, guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.